Hi, welcome to Savvy Sunday with Lisa Brown. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I recently had a class showing the black ice technique and have had a request to do a video on it. So first, these are some projects that we did in my black ice technique class. This one, let's see, we'll start in the bottom. This one here was using the Nature's Beauty stamp set. This is found in the back of the annual catalog, and it's a stamp set that Stampin' Up! Makes a donation every time they make a purchase. A customer makes a purchase, and here's the stamp set for that. And then the next one was made with the Beautiful You. And on this one, you'll notice, I don't know if you can pick up some color in her dress, but we colored with some of our alcohol blends after we made the card. And this is the Beautiful You, which is found in the annual catalog. It's a really nice set, has lots of stamps that go along with it. The next one is probably one of my favorites, and this is one I will put a link to my blog post on this. And this was made with the the Forever Blossoms stamp set. This is in a nice bundle in the new 2020 annual catalog. And so for this one, we just randomly stamped this twig of flowers of the blossoms all over the foil paper on there. So that one is probably one of my favorites. And then this is the one we're going to reproduce today. It's made with the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set, which is also a two-set bundle, and it comes with dies. And this is the flower we're going to use here, and I used the thanks stamp on the front of the card. So for these, for this black ice technique, it works with foil paper and a permanent black ink or any type of permanent ink. You can use any color foil and really any color of permanent ink, but for right now, Stampin' Up! Only has we have the Stays On Jet Black, and we do have Saddle Brown. I did attempt to do the card in Saddle Brown and was not happy with the results. Only for my own liking, and maybe I'll need to try it with a different color foil paper. I haven't done that yet. So, so you need a permanent ink like Stays On Jet Black, and you need clear embossing powder, and you also need Versamark. And Versamark is what you're going to use with your to get your clear powder to stay. So moving on, I have a piece of copper foil paper, and it's kind of important to try not and touch the foil paper with your finger so that you don't get the oils on it. And what I like to do is have maybe a paper towel, or here I'm just going to use my coffee filter and kind of hold the edge of the foil paper down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub down and make streaks down my foil. Make sure I'm getting my edges, but I'm just applying a very light pressure. Because if you press too much, you're going to get real dark chunky streaks. So I'm just going all the way down, and then I'm going to flip this around so that I can get the part here with the black Stays On. And again, I'm just going to lightly drag this down, creating streaks down my foil paper. If you want to show a little more of the streaks, then just give it some more pressure. But again, it's just a light drag down your foil. And let me go ahead and see if I can pick this up without getting my fingers on it. Let me get my tweezers and show you how, if I can get it in the light. Just some light streaking on there. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take anything I want to stamp on this, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in the same black Stays On. So I'm going to take my thanks, and ink it up in my StazOn and give that a press. When you're stamping, you need to be careful because your foil paper creates a slippery surface, and if you press too hard or not careful, your stamp can actually slide on the foil. So you want to just go straight down, give it a nice little pressure, and then lift straight back up. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my flower. Yeah, maybe I think I'm going to go this way this time. And I'm going straight down, giving it some nice pressure. And I'm going to lift straight back up, help it come off the stamp. Okay, so there is, you can see my images now. Let me cover up. The next step, which is really important, is you want to take your heat gun and you need to dry this ink because it's on foil and it's the permanent ink. You need to dry it. So give me 1 minute here. Take my heat gun, and you can use your tweezers or again a paper towel, or I'm just going to use the corner of my my coffee filter to hold that down. And now it's not like embossing powder. We're not trying to melt anything. We're just trying to dry it. So I'm drying from a good distance away from my paper. Let me grab that corner so I can get this corner dried. Okay, so our image should be dry. If you just give it a light touch, it should not stick to your finger. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to do the same process that we did with dragging our black ink on. I'm going to do with my Versamark. Versamark is the clear sticky ink that's going to hold the clear embossing powder. So same thing, I'm going to find a spot to kind of hold my paper over here in the very corner, and I'm going to take my pad with very little pressure and I'm just going to drag it down on my foil. And that sticky ink is actually going to grab onto that foil paper. You're not going to be able to see it, but it's there. I'm going to come over on this side and try to hold it. This is the hardest part because your foil paper likes to move. And you want to make sure that it drags straight down. And as my paper's sliding, I'm kind of moving my Versamark pad with it. Okay. So now I have my clear embossing powder. And I'm going to open up my coffee filter. And I'm going to put that on my coffee filter. I'm just going to dump on my clear embossing powder all over and give it a nice coat. Okay. And I'm going to knock off the excess. Dump this back in my jar. I like using the coffee filter because coffee filters don't have static and the powder comes back off relatively nice. All right, so I'm going to hold one side of this. Now I have to heat emboss this. And I don't know if you can tell, do you see like those streaks right in here? The embossing powder is not over the whole thing, so it actually makes streaks of lines. So let's go ahead and melt that. I'm just going to shut that off for a second while I rotate this to the other side so I'm not burning my fingers. Okay, now your paper is going to curl a little bit, but we're just going to let it dry for, or excuse me, cool down for a second. And while that's cooling down, I'm going to grab, I have a little bit of residual powder on my table. Let me get that out of the way. And so while that's cooling down, we're going to take our paper and we're going to prep the rest of our card. And I see I forgot to grab my black card base. So let me get a piece of paper right now and we're going to get that cut in half. Of course, I have to cut into a new pack of basic black here. So, okay. And we're going to take our paper cutter and we're going to cut this at 5.5. All right. So we have our card base, which is a standard 8.5 by 5.5, and I just folded it in half at 4.25, and I'm going to give it a little press with my bone folder. Okay, our background is out of Mossy Meadow. I need a punch out of this though, so we're going to take my punch and we're just going to stick it in all the way in. This is the Everyday Label punch, as you can see I have written here. We're going to give one of those out of the center of our background, and that's like a good way to do, it's a paper saving tip. So of using another sheet of paper, and I'm just covering this up, so why not punch or die cut anything I need out of my back matting. And we're going to stick this down. My Mossy Meadow is 4 inches by 5.25, so just a standard mat. All right, and then I have a couple of pieces of Designer Series paper from the Magnolia Lane Suite, and I see that I just glued my paper down and I forgot that I need to put some ribbon on there, so we're gonna hang on to 1 second here. Let's see if we can do this. I'm gonna bring this in and line this up. It's almost an exact match, so it's going to be kind of hard for me to do that. So we will figure some out. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. Oops, my glue. These are cut 3 3/4, and this one is at 3.5. And when I lay it down, I'm just going to make sure that I have an even border all the way around my paper. And then this one then is 3 3/4 and by 1.5. You can see it's the opposite. I'm using the opposite sides of the design. Okay, and we're going to stick this down here. Again, just trying to get an even border all the way around. Okay. Let's see. All right, so I forgot to, before I adhered down my Mossy Meadow, I was supposed to put my black ribbon down. So we're just going to, cut it at an angle that way. And I think we're going to go the same angle. Let's see how that fits. Or if I should just do straight up and down. Maybe I'll just do straight up and down. Let me just try that. Okay. And then our black ribbon is going to go across like that. So I'm going to actually use my tape runner and, well, maybe not, because my tape runner just ran out. So let's see. I thought I had another tape runner on my desk here. Let's try to use some glue dots. Let's see. I don't even have any glue dots on my table. All right. We're going to just run some glue. How's that? I thought I had another tape runner on my table, you guys. I'm just going to put that across like that. Okay. And we're going to take, so this is our black satin ribbon. It's a 1/2 inch wide. And then I'm going to take our petal pink ribbon. This is also from the Magnolia Lane suite. And in my original card, I just had a knot, but I think I'm going to tie a bow on this one. Just tie a simple bow. Pull this down. All right. And we're gonna adhere our bow in the middle of our black ribbon. Oh goodness, I don't know what happened to my dimensionals. I thought I had some. I have some. I might have some paper pumpkin ones. Here we go. I have some paper pumpkin dimensionals. So let's use those. That'll work. All right. So we're gonna put several of those down. So paper pumpkin comes with these flat little mini dimensionals, and they always give you like a ton of them. So I always have a bunch left over. The only thing is that they have these little paper backings on them. So I'm going to try to use my tweezers to flick those off and grab it. Okay. They never want to come off when you're trying to show something, right? Okay. So we got those off, and now we can just stick our ribbon on top of that. All right, cool. All right, so we gave time for our black ice technique piece of foil. So once it's cooled, you can just totally like play with it and press the paper and it will flatten out. It's also going to help that we're going to mount that to a piece of basic black. So I'm going to put some liquid glue on there. And give that nice press. So can you see how it's like the streaks in there now, like right here, the Versamark pad didn't hit, and that's totally fine. So yeah, this is, I like how this came out because my sample card, I did it on champagne foil, and this one is on copper foil. So we're just gonna put some dimensionals on the back of here. I like press them in the center with your fingernail, and the backings will lift real easily, or you can use your pick tool to get them off. And I'll put that in the center of our card. Okay. Oh, I didn't put my label on. Goodness. So we're going to cut this label down. And I wanted my label to fit in back here. Let's see. I'm going to trim that down a little bit more. And put some glue back here. I'm going to put that one there. And we're going to trim this one down. Just put some liquid glue on that, and we're going to put that one on this side. There we go. Put it in just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So this is my original card here, and this is the one that I just created. So it's very hard to tell, but this one I used champagne foil, and this one I used copper foil paper on there. So I hope you liked this technique, and I hope you try it at home. And you can always order supplies on my shop at stampwithlisabrown.stampinup.net. Have a great day. Thanks.